nearly 100 detainees have died under our control. 34 of those have already been called homicides, and at least 8 of the people have been judged to be tortured to death by the United States government. Tortured to death, okay? By the way, the maximum sentence that anybody got for torturing people to death, I hope you're sitting, 5 months. 5 months, okay? What we've been doing is hideous, right?
Yeah, if that's the standard, then, yeah, they're right. Scooter Libby should walk.
Yeah, I guess, right? So now here's the part that I despise, and I blows my mind. They had a tougher one, Democratic proposal, and God bless Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. He was one of the guys who proposed it. Now that's why it was important to defeat Chafee, who was a quote-unquote moderate Republican in Rhode Island, because Sheldon Whitehouse turns out to be a great senator and totally holding these guys accountable. We could have had another guy like that in there called Ned Lamont, but unfortunately the good people of Connecticut made a dramatic mistake.
Ned Lamont's actually for torture.
So thank God Sheldon Whitehouse is in there. Apparently a pretty smart guy. And credit where credit is due, the second co-sponsor of that bill was Dianne Feinstein, someone who I get on sometimes for what I think is for being too conservative and too cozy with the military.
Yeah, I just real quick about Dianne Feinstein. She's very hard to pigeonhole. I mean, she's great on some things, and then some things she's not. It's not.
And fair is fair. She's great on this. She proposed it, and the proposal was, you know what? Enough with the mealy-mouthed talk of, we're going to study this and we're going to weigh the different, the pros and cons of torture. No, we're going to stop the funding so you can't torture people anymore.
You have to follow. Their proposal insisted that the Army Field Manual be followed.
It's the most reasonable thing in the whole wide world. They're saying, hey, we're not asking you to follow the Human Rights Manual. We're not asking you to follow the touchy-feely hippie manual on detainees. We're asking you to follow the Army Field Manual. And if you do not follow the Army Field Manual, we're going to cut off the funding. It couldn't be more reasonable. What happened? It lost. It lost in committee. Why did it lose in committee? You say, wait a minute, I don't get it. Democrats are a majority. Why would it lose? You'd need a Democrat to vote against it. Well, first of all, every Republican on the committee, they're still exactly what they were before. Every single one. And that's why I don't want to hear about moderate Republicans. You got to defeat all of them. Drive them all out of the Senate, okay? Susan Collins, et cetera. It's like, get them the hell out of there. They all vote to cover this administration's ass and to do hideous things like torture. But they also, not only every Republican, but they got a Democrat. To his eternal discredit, Senator Bill Nelson of Florida, Senator Bill Nelson said, nah, let's keep funding the torture and study it. Look, I don't mind them studying it. It's a hell of a lot better than what the Republicans did when they were in the majority. But how could it possibly be wrong to cut off funding unless you're following the Army Field Manual? They're committing crimes, for the love of God. How could that? God, it drives me crazy. I think that is a black mark on Senator Bill Nelson's record. Look, I'm sure he doesn't care, but I won't forget it. And so, and all these guys who vote for the Military Commissions Act and who vote for these kind of hideous things, I hope to God one day there's a primary against them and we get them the hell out of there.
The story does not go into detail as to why. It may be simply that this is how he believes. Hopefully, in the coming months and year and a half that's left in this Congress, not quite that long, that we'll get many more opportunities to turn stuff like this around. That this is certainly not going to be the only chance to look.
See, the problem is, though, once you go along with these guys, then you're on the record. And so now Bill Nelson's going to have to go along with them forever. Because they're going to turn around and say, well, you were for torture before you were against it.
No, I don't. They may. That's fine. But, I mean, no one's going to say in an effort to that's a strange flip-flop argument to make because his opponent would theoretically be for torture. I'm just saying there are going to be other chances. Obviously, I hope he votes the right way when he has an opportunity to again. But you're right. There's no way it's not a black mark.